I have had to train myself to, okay, we're working on this, we're going to see it to the end. Most people start, but they don't finish. So starting is not a problem for people, but finishing is the problem because they
Staying
get
committed is the problem.
staying
Staying
committed.
consistent. Yeah.
Yes. So these things are problems because people are trying to do the power of many.
Well, hi there, and welcome to a Sit With Me podcast. My name is Solène, and I am your host. And today, what a fantastic episode we have in store. I am joined by DK Jonah, and I met her in the comment section of my TikTok. I posted a TikTok, and she asked me to be a part of the show, to be a guest, and I said of course, because this is what I want the podcast to be. I want to welcome people to share their story, their wisdom, and for us to sit down and learn with each other. And so we connected this fast, sent a few DMs here, a few emails there, and then here we are. I sat down with this beautiful human being. She's in London. She's a productivity coach, and so she helps people in general and creative achieving their goals in a sustainable way and really commit to achieving their goal, because most of the time we can be overwhelmed by our goal. We can give up, we can feel lost, alone in the way, or not knowing what to do, how to do it, and how to reach the vision in our head. We can feel overwhelmed, we can feel lost, not knowing which step we should take. And this is where she comes in with her beautiful expertise. And so I did my research on her, but I was not expecting such a beautiful conversation. And so she gives all the wisdom in such an effortless way about how to be more productive, and what does that mean to be more productive? Why are we struggling with being productive, and why are we not achieving our goals the way that we want to? And so I'm keeping her in my contact for sure. I'm staying in touch with her because I love her wisdom, I love her energy, and also we talk about something that is way more personal. She is dealing with chronic illness, with chronic pain, and we're going to talk about that later in the episode, because you hear her with all of her energy and wisdom and beauty and solar energy, and then you hear that she's going through pain every single day of her life. And so still she rises, still she's this ball of energy and wisdom and care and love. And yes, I could not be more grateful to have her on the podcast. She's welcome anytime she wants. Please go and follow her on social media, DK Jonah, on Instagram, on TikTok, everywhere. She has workshops that you can attend. She's a coach. You can hire her as your coach. And I will strongly advise you to. I mean, you will hear her in the podcast, right? So yes, thank you so much, DK, for sitting down with me. If I'm ever in London, girl, I am coming to your house, quite literally. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom, your beauty, your energy. And yes, you are a light. I told you that you are a light. You will hear someone truly and honestly walking in their purpose. This is who she is. She's walking in her light, walking in her purpose, and we are all grateful for it. We're all grateful for you. So yes, enjoy this episode. You can find me at Solène all caps on every single social media. Write me at a sitwithmepodcast@gmail.com. Yes, this is the email. And without further ado, please take a seat with DK Jonah. Well, hello, DK. Thank you so much for joining me and for taking a seat with me.
Thank you for having me. It's wonderful to be with you today.
I'm so glad that you reach out, because you reach out, like we were talking just before starting the recording, where you reach out on TikTok, you left a comment, and I was so ecstatic because I went on your page and I love what you're talking about, what we're gonna talk about. I did stalk you like I stalked all my guests.
Oh my goodness.
And so I feel like we aligned on so many things.
Oh, that's good, because my TikTok page is where I just make a mess. That's what I call it. I do whatever I want to do. Then my Instagram is kind of polished. So yeah, that's why I was scared.
Well, I love your TikTok because it's honest and it's raw and it's real, and you take us on your different journeys, not just your work, but also what's going on in your life. And so I was like, oh my God, this is going to be even better, because like I said, we align on so many things, and I have so many questions, because I feel like I can be inspired from a lot of things that you say from your work. So you are a productivity coach, and you are based in London, and I'm in Berlin. And we are not in the same time. We were just talking about that. There's a slight different time. exactly, but we made it. I always talk about that, the fact that I need to align myself on my guest timeline and always make sure I'm always paranoid because I don't want to be late or miss the time. But you are based in Berlin and you are a productivity coach. Can you talk to me
Yes.
about that?
Based in London, my name is DK Jonah is what I go by, and I am a productivity coach. So what I do is quite simple, but not easy. I help people kind of build systems that help them to improve the way they get things done. So it's
Hmm.
like we're not taught how to be productive. We are expected to understand how to manage time, how to manage resources. And we're moving from into an age where we don't have the fixed structure of the academic system that we grew up in, especially as
Right.
creatives. You now have all the time to yourself. Then you don't know what to do with it. So that's what I help people do to improve the way they get things done so they reach their peak performance. Because I always
Hmm.
say that most people don't work for the person they are, they work for the person they wish they were. My case, I'm an introverted introvert, and I was just
Hmm.
trying to be that extroverted, wonderful person but it just wasn't working for me. So I wasn't feeling fulfilled. People were not connecting. But then when I realized that as an introvert, you do have a voice. Your voice is maybe as low as possible, but that doesn't mean you don't have a voice. That doesn't mean you don't have a personality. You just consume information, give out information in a different way, and the light bulb went off in my head, and I've not stopped since 2014.
That's amazing. And there's this amazing book that I read. It's called Susan Cain, The Power
Quiet.
of the Quiet.
Yes.
It changed my
Beautiful.
life. I remember
Beautiful.
I read that. I was younger. I was a teenager, and
Oh, really?
it changed
I am glad you read
my.
it when you were a teenager because
Me
that is a
too.
must read for every introvert.
Absolutely. And because I did not know that I was an introvert, I did not know the word, like the
Hmm.
wording, but it's just, I don't know where I heard about the book. Maybe I was in the library, or maybe I saw it on,
There
on
was a TED
TV.
talk she did that made me get.
Yes, I think that's why.
It was a TED
I think
talk.
because I was,
Yes.
yeah, I was really into TED Talks, and I had the privilege of having a computer in my house. Back in the day, you need to choose a house to have a computer in, okay? And it was in my bedroom because I was, fancy
Lucky
like that. I
you.
know. I was fancy like that. There was the one big computer
Your room.
in my bedroom, and so I was looking a lot, watching a lot of TED talks, and I came across her,
Yeah.
and my mom was graceful enough to buy me the book, and it changed everything because I was able to put words on
Hmm.
introversion. I was able to stop feeling weird,
Thank you.
and stop feeling bad for
Hmm.
having needing time to recharge on my own. And
Exactly.
like you said, it's very important to work for the person
You
that you
are.
are, not the person that you wish to be, or not the person that other people want you to become.
I
So
love
what
that
led you
addition. I love
what
that
led you
addition.
to that work?
Because I was introverted and misunderstood. Everyone is like, "Oh, you should talk
Mm.
more." I'm like, "Well, I talk a lot when I'm home. If I have something to say, I will
Mhm.
say it." I think for me, what
Mhm.
led me was the podcast. I saw the podcast when I had started that journey because most times as individuals, we work based on our weaknesses, not based on our strengths. So I was always trying to improve my weaknesses, ignoring my strengths. And I read a book called Strength Finder by Gallup, and it's changed my life. It was like, wow, there are certain things that I'm good at. So there was a quiz and an assessment I had to take. And I discovered that,
Mhm.
oh, I was restorative. While everybody else is running away from problems, I am thinking of building bridges. I am so excited. I run it and I'm like that. Okay, then there's intuition where I really need to be with myself and stay with myself to work.
Mhm.
I also realized one of my strengths was discipline. It was not something I liked. I'm like, okay, you went to a military school, so that's kind of figures. But it
Okay, yeah.
just
So
yeah,
yeah, the perfect
yeah.
place to learn discipline.
Yeah, so it kind of helps me to understand myself more because you've been misunderstood for so long. I came
Mhm.
to London when I was 24. So I had done my first degree. I had worked in the banking sector, but it was my first time away from home. And now I had to look for a place for myself. I had to do so much of settling into a new city and doing a master's degree, but I was also struggling with my chronic health. So it was kind of, I
Mhm.
want to do certain things. People that I know are going through XYZ and doing this, but I don't have the capacity to do all the things they are doing. So I needed to
Yeah.
learn to love me for me. accept me for me. And all of a sudden, everybody was like, "Oh, we're just." DK is just a comfortable person to be with. You bring that
Yeah.
warmth, you bring that nurturing stuff. I was like, really? Okay. So
You are,
I,
it's so surprising when people talk to you about yourself.
it
I'm
is
discovering
shocking.
that
It is
it's
shocking.
you hear things about yourself that you don't see for yourself.
I wouldn't have said nurturing. They say, "Oh, you not
Mm.
you coach in a very nurturing, motherly way." I'm like, is that a compliment or is that something else?
Is
Because
that nice? Are you trying to give
are
me a
you
message? Is
exactly? Are you
that
trying to tell me that I need to be more firm or something? But they're like, no. When you coach, it is personal. It is something that shows that you do really care. You want this person to improve.
Mhm.
You're not just doing it for a paycheck, but rather you're looking at the individual as a person and taking an holistic approach to what they do. And I even started coaching by accident. It was just stuff I used to do with people and kind of get on the
Mm.
calls with them. In 2012, I went on a call with someone and she was like, "Oh, you're going to be a wonderful brand strategist." I was like, "Me? Never. I'm going to do my PhD and stuff like that."
I
And
have
then
my
all
goal. Yeah,
I'm
I
like,
have my
because I was
vision.
exactly, but I know there's someone that used to dream like that about certain things. Because I'm just like, I'm happy with what I have. I'm content, but I'm very, very focused and I'm going for the next one. So when she said that, I'm like, nah, academics. I'll be a lecturer. I've decided.
Mm.
But then I couldn't lecture anymore because of my health. So I was just finding myself. And as I was finding, I was teaching. So no matter what I did, I realized that I'm still coaching, I'm still teaching. So even if I said I couldn't study because I was unable to assimilate new information, however, I was doing something that nobody would have seen coming. And I will say for me, my faith helps me a lot. I'm Christian. So I
Mhm.
do pray a lot. I'm like, God, what do you want me to do now that I can't do this PhD? What's next in my life? That was what I was planning to do. And then I saw an educational psychologist. And
Mhm.
because I was worried, I'm like, how can I go from supervising people's thesis to not being able to write mine? It was just ridiculous. And she said that your verbal skills are your greatest skills. Use more of that. But why
To you, she
exactly?
said that to you,
Yes, she said that to
to you
me.
specifically.
Yes, to me.
Okay.
So when she did all her tests, she then said, "But why do you want a PhD? What are you trying to prove to people? Who are you doing a PhD for?"
Ooh,
And I was like, I don't
because you
know.
thought you needed to have one.
I'm African. I'm Nigerian. So you're
Yes.
not, yeah, either getting
It's
married
an
when you're doing
engineer, a lawyer, or
exactly,
there's a list.
and then you're a woman. Oh, move to your husband's
Yeah.
house, but don't just be
Ah.
no. So
Mm.
it was like, And then I thought about it and I was like, I don't need a PhD. So even now, people tell me, oh, you're still going to get a PhD. Wouldn't it be wonderful for when you're going on stage, someone says doctor? And I'm like, no, it doesn't move me
You're
again because
content.
I'm content because I do have,
But how was that moment when you had to lean in your purpose? Because I feel sometimes that's where people get scared, or
yes.
because you had a vision for yourself, you had a goal, you set a goal for yourself, and you said I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to get my PhD, and so but your path was different, your purpose was different.
Yes.
How was that journey? And you were lucky enough to have people on your path telling you verbal skills, you should do
Yes.
public speaking,
It,
but it's different
it's different.
hearing someone telling you
And doing
what
the
you
work.
should do, what you can do,
Mm-hmm.
and you leading fully into that. So how did you do that?
It wasn't easy. So when she told me first, I was like, I'm someone that doesn't even speak to my shadow if I have my way. I'm someone that when they want someone to lead, I'm like, nah, I want to be behind the scenes. We've got to do the admin work and stuff. When my friends are going out, I'm like, someone needs to sit with the bags while you ladies dance. So
My
that
God, I'm the same.
so that
Exactly.
is the vibe I
Yeah.
give. However, life wanted something different, and this is what I say. Sometimes you may not have figured everything out, but whatever you figured out, do it. So I just knew that I wanted to build a stationery business because I love paper. I love stationery. I'm
Yes.
such a paper girl. And I
Yes.
just started doing research on stationery and I was getting remarkably good in social media because I was observing it from 2011. I noticed the changes. So I started saying, okay, this is what I want to call. I was like, I'll be one of the people in the gift industry. So I put the gift and industry together. I call it the gift industry. And I was excited about it. But as I was doing that and thinking of how I wanted to start my stationery business, I was learning and having conversations with people because at that point in time, remember, I'm not doing a PhD. Everybody's like, "What are you doing?" And you're like,
Yeah.
I'm not really sure. I'm trying to figure it out. They're going to give you a while to figure it out, but that comes with deadlines. And I had to learn that I needed to be kinder to myself because I'm nice to myself, but I'm not kind to myself. So I needed to be kinder to myself. I needed to surround myself with people that are also invested in improving themselves. And I did not do that
Yeah.
intentionally pick these people, but all of a sudden, because of what we were sharing and what we were doing, we were being drawn closer. So I started a blog in 2012, and I didn't even know what I was doing. The name of the blog was so long and ridiculous. I mentioned I was Christian, and the name was "Unto the knowledge of the Lord, unto the knowledge of the glory of the Lord takes over the earth as the water covers the sea."
Okay. Okay, DK. Yeah, that like branding, please.
So I was like, I had no idea what I was doing. I just knew that I needed a blog. I learned how to use
Yeah.
WordPress and I went in.
To put it out. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I'm like, okay, I can't really write, but I could get other people to contribute. And then I started
Mm.
thinking of names. So the name changed to Create with Words, which was a collaborative blog where I got different people to contribute. And why I called it Create with Words, because words have been spoken to me that have kind of made me hide myself. Words have been spoken to me that made me see myself not as a creative person. I wanted everybody to know that they were creative, but their
Mm-hmm.
definition of creativity was based on the word's definition of creativity, and
Mm.
that they needed to create positively with words. So, also, most of the time when we do stuff, the world is quick to critique us to make us feel like
Mm-hmm.
we've not done enough. So I wanted us to create with words by building people up with words positively in order for them to transform their lives. And I was like, oh, I'm going to get a brand strategist to work with us. And everybody's just looking at me and saying, well, girl, you're good at this
You
already.
can
Where
do
are
it
we getting
yourself.
somebody? I was like, okay, I call a brand strategist and to do the website and stuff, and they give me a ridiculous price. I was like, all right, so our first workshop is on this day. So we then started doing things together. I was part of this Bible study group, so they were quite helpful. Pinky Promise Girls. I used to
Yeah.
host them together, and most of them were also part of the collaborative blog. So in 2015, when one person was leaving, or 2016, she said, "Oh, I am getting married and relocating to Nigeria, but the radio station I work at, they need an host." So she's like, is anyone interested? I said, I am. And I had like 5 podcast ideas in a folder already. So I went with the podcast and they picked the first one and said, start on Tuesday. Now, if I
That's
wasn't
like
prepared,
that's very inspiring.
yes.
And like hearing you, clearly you get things done. Like clearly you're
Oh, yeah.
someone, you have a goal and you
Yes.
go. But my question is, where is that coming from? Because you have that
Oh,
project and that project and that project and it's
if I am left alone, I have like 50 million projects I could do at the same time. God knows what I
Yep.
have limited energy. Where is it coming from?
Yes.
I would say as a Christian, I know that whatever I do, I need to do well. I understand
Mm.
that I assimilate information in a different way. I now know I'm autistic. I didn't know I was autistic then. So I've always assimilated by doing the way I got into coaching and teaching because that's how I learned. So in order for it to stick
Yeah.
for me, that's how I have to do. And it's just my upbringing. You can't just be idle. So I'm teaching myself how to rest
Yeah.
because we keep
It's
moving
important.
forward. And
How
now
to
you are
relax.
exactly now. Well, I was in the military school, and then I went to a private university in Nigeria, which was quite strict also. But then I had a father that was a very, very, very intelligent man. Then he has a daughter that doesn't understand Pythagoras' theorem.
Mm.
And I'm talking to my papers. I'm like, what is this useless Pythagoras? I think I was 10 or 11 then. And he was just staring like, this is the easiest thing. And I'm like, no, it's easy for your brain, not easy for me. So I've always tried to kind of prove that I also was good. So when you have
Mm.
intelligent people around you and people that are excelling in the academic way, you will like, oh, I have to prove that I am good. And almost every lecturer will be like, goodness, you have so much potential, but there's just something missing when you write. So if I tell somebody and we do an assignment together, I'm like, this is what needs to be done, blah, blah, blah. The person's going to score better than I will. And then we realized it was just the way I was assimilating information because of dyslexia. If I was taught a
And
different way, things would have been.
and you You talk about the power of one. I remember I saw
Oh,
one of your
yes,
TikTok.
yes, yes, yes,
Can
yes.
you explain what is the power of one? Because I feel like for a lot of creatives, it can be, it's something that we
Mm-hmm,
forget. We completely forget
mm-hmm.
because we get so happy with
Happy
with
and
so many
excited.
ideas.
Yes. So the power of one is not about sticking to one thing until it's successful. It's about being like a stamp when you are on an envelope. If an envelope is addressed somewhere and that stamp is on that envelope, it's not moving until it get even when it gets to the destination. You will have to be intentional about moving that stamp. So what I started doing was women we say this, oh, we multitask well. I'm an amazing multitasker. I am
Hmm.
against multitasking when it comes to specific things. Now, there are different types of tasks that we have. We have tasks that require maximum attention. We have tasks that require medium attention, and then we have tasks that require minimum attention. So, when it comes to a maximum attention task, you and I are talking now. We can't do
Yeah,
this and do something else because we need to
yeah.
have our focus completely on that. So we are monotasking, not multitasking. So the power of one is about taking one thing at a time and working with it. So as much as possible, unless it's unavoidable with minimum attention task, because we can be talking now and you might just quickly do a tweet to then come back to it. That's different. That doesn't really require so much brainwave, but it also depends on the
Hmm.
individual. Certain people can talk and tweet at the same time. I don't know how they do it, but they are good at it. But there are certain people that will be too draining for them. So what works for you? The power of one for me is in three different ways. One, focus on that task till till it's completed. Two, when it comes to your goal, focus on that specific goal that you're going to achieve. So sometimes we get distracted because we have what I call shining eye syndrome. I know that's not the name, but it's a shining object syndrome where we just keep looking at the next thing outside. So someone told me, oh, I want to start a business. So I said, okay, use the power of one and start your business and focus on it. And their power, or what they identified as the most important thing to start a business was money. Now, I've talked about so many things and doing stuff. I have not mentioned finances yet. So, when what your attention is focused on is what will determine the results you get. So, rather than trying to focus on 10 different things at the same time, because I know my mind is hypervigilant, I have had to train myself to, okay, we're working on this, we're going to see it to the end. Most people start, but they don't finish. So, starting is
Yeah.
not a problem for people, but finishing is the problem because they
Staying
get
committed is the problem.
staying
Staying
commit.
consistent. Yeah.
Yes. So these things are problems because people are trying to do the power of many by
Yes.
focusing on so many things.
And
And
I feel like social media is playing a role as
it
well
is.
because we keep scrolling and we keep seeing other people doing
Mm-hmm.
stuff. And so, even though you are working on your project and you're going somewhere,
Yes.
then you open your phone and someone is 10 steps
Ahead
ahead or
of
someone
you.
doing completely different
Or they
or
have
trying to
10
sell you
people
an
working on,
idea.
or they're having like a mad team working behind them, and you are a solo DIY entrepreneur. That's what I call us. We are DIY entrepreneurs. We do every single thing ourselves. So if you don't do it yourself, no one's coming to do it. So in order for you to execute what you have to execute, you need to be completely committed to yourself. This includes scheduling rest. This includes scheduling reflections. So when I say the power of what, I'm not saying that, oh, that's the only thing you will work on truly. But I'm saying when you're planning your calendar, because you have to control your calendar shouldn't control you. Most of us are controlled by our calendars. When we have freedom. I say freelancers, you're not free. Your time is not free. Your energy is not free. Your money is not free. What you're doing when people call you, when you don't have a schedule, is you're working on other people's business rather than your own. So you see someone's video and you are like, oh, I want to go viral. I always say, why do you want to go viral? I don't care about going viral. When you focus so much on doing the wrong things, because the power of one, I'm not looking at your focus. When you focus on the wrong things, like, oh, I want to go viral, going viral is not bad, don't get me wrong. But your energy on just going viral, you're going to lose the essence of why you do what you do. You're going to be trying to manipulate people just to get attention. Attention is a currency, and it's a currency that we
Yes.
spend our currency. So when you don't have money, you have time, you have your own attention. Where are you investing your attention? The power of one is about focusing on one thing, having one clear objective you're trying to achieve, And that objective could have different activities, tasks, and goal. So you have a podcast. That is your power one. But there may be a reason you do the podcast. In order for you to do your podcast, you have to research guests. So you have to create time to research. You have to do the riverside, set every single thing up. You have to create time to do that. You have to work with a schedule because you're on two different time zones. But you had to, by doing, you figured it out. Most people want us to give them blueprints and say this is what you need to do to go viral. But the truth is,
Yes.
the viral videos are the ones you least expect. Have you not noticed that somebody
And
is
also,
filming?
it does not, you should not focus on something that is so temporary, because you go viral and then what?
2 seconds
I
later.
believe that you should focus on long-term goals. But the thing is, the viral aspect is so appealing because you have comments and likes, etc. But are you building something long term? And I understand the power of one as focusing on the right one. Don't just focus on something, just making more money just to make more money, making a content just to go viral.
Mm-hmm.
Make content because you want to sell a product or sell a service, and stick to that,
Yes.
basically.
So yes, I will say yes, stick to that. But when it comes to social media, I was having a conversation with someone recently, and he was like, "Oh, you've said so many things, but these are just words." I said, "Words become actions." That's the thing. Sometimes we're dismissive of words. We need to
Yeah.
understand that in order for us to even create something that is worthwhile, we need to dedicate time and sweat. We see some people keep saying, "Oh, Arian Pierce just blew up overnight, overnight success." You and I know that's not true. He has
Does not Overnight success does not
no, it
exist.
doesn't exist. So many people don't want to do the boring work. Boring work is building a system. You had an amazing system. You sent an email. You did this. You did that. That's a wonderful system that works for you. But you had to build it yourself because it has to work for the person you are. Another boring work could be tidying up your inbox so that when you want to do something specific, it's easy for you to retrieve information. We live in an information age where there's information overload, but we do not even access this information when we need it. So if your power of one this period, say, okay, one thing I want to achieve this quarter is I want to organize my system. You can't do that in a day. You're going to have to
Yeah.
break it down into specific goals, specific projects, specific activities, specific tasks.
Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. But
Because
to do that, you say that motivation is not enough. Why you're saying that?
no, motivation is not enough because, girl, you did your homework. Motivation is not enough because many people feel that, oh, I want to do this. I'm motivated. I'm excited about it. Motivation ends somewhere. It's a feeling. What are you willing to do when you don't feel motivated? That's why I talked about boring work. Many people, once they are not motivated, they move on and it's on to the next, on to the next, on to the next. So I'm not saying motivation is not good, but it is not enough because you have to think beyond motivation. You have to think about, are you willing to do this even if nobody is watching? Are you willing to do this if you know that, okay, you may not get results immediately? Are you in it for the long run or the short run? Are you willing to say, oh, I will take a part-time job even if I'm an entrepreneur because I need funds to pay my rent, but I still want to be like Jochi and focus on my craft. And when you see someone like her now blowing up 5 years ago when she was striving and doing all those things, no one saw when she did the inner work, when she did all those things. What people want to do is celebrate you when you're doing well. And I think that's where commitment is important, accountability is important. And I have accountability partners and I run accountability circles. So my girls and I, we meet every Wednesday and sometimes we just gossip.
I need that. I need accountability, people. Yeah, I need
Yeah,
that.
it's good.
That's
It's good.
fantastic.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's good. It helps. It
because
helps.
you cannot, at some point, you cannot exist in your
No,
own
you can't.
echo chamber. At some point, you need someone to see you, to witness you,
Hmm.
and to tell you, hey, you said that you were going to do that, or someone to
Exactly.
lead you, or maybe to challenge you. It was
I
like,
wouldn't
I don't
have
know
done
if
my
that's a
last
good
workshop
idea.
if not of my girls. I wouldn't have written my book if not of my girls. They're
Hmm.
like, you said you will. If it's me, you'll be on my case. I'm like, yeah, I know, but I'm
Yeah,
just
there's always a but for us. There is always
being
a but. But okay, if you say that motivation is not enough, what is enough? What do people need?
people need.
Motivation is great to start the car.
It's going to
So
start the
what
car.
is so what is enough?
Um, Reflection on your own data is something you should start with. You read all the books on productivity, you listen to all the podcasts, all the motivational
Mm-hmm.
messages on being productive and starting, but you're not learning from your own data. So I'll talk about a couple of things. What I mean by your own data is you don't know how you use time, you don't know how you manage time, you don't know how you mismanage time. So keeping a time log is something that I always tell people to do. And I tell people don't do shortcuts. So if you're keeping a time log for 24 hours for the whole week, you know that at this specific time, these were my intentions, and these were my actions, and these were the results, or this is what happened. So when you look at your intentions and action, your intention was to do research on future guests for your podcast, but you found yourself scrolling on TikTok and you called it research.
Don't call me out like that.
So
Jesus.
when you reflect on that, you go, okay, today's intention was to you reflect every evening. Today's intention was to do research. I found myself getting distracted for 5 hours on TikTok, for instance, until my battery died. Today we just had a playlist going on, and then the battery died. And we're like, no, we're still on this. And then my battery died, and I couldn't do it. Okay, so what was your distraction? Was it you or was it the tool? You now realize that it's you that's the problem sometimes because you lack discipline. So you are reflecting on your own data. You can read all the books in the world, but whose data are you using? Other people's data. And I always say when you look at the power of reflection is so I don't say so powerful. It's so strategic because it helps you to see what you're doing and what you're not doing only if you're honest with yourself. So don't lie to yourself when you're doing your reflection. So I was planning a workshop and almost everything I was supposed to do I did not do because of a little change that happened. And I'm struggling. My friend is like, what happened? I say, okay. I take accountability and I love being on the hot seat. So that opportunity for me to be constantly on the hot seat for me, that's an opportunity for me that learns by talking to actually reflect on what I did and what I didn't do. So we have the hot seat where when you sit on the hot seat, no, don't take anything personal. But what they did for me is they will play devil's advocate. They will play every single role. They will look at the objections and ask you this question so that you will know what you know truly.
Yeah.
And if you really want this. So the question is, do you want it or do you like the idea of it? That's a question
I love
everybody.
that. I love that. I love that. I love that because you hear a lot of people, they want, I mean, on paper, they want to travel, they
Yeah.
want to fly away,
Yeah.
they want a business, they want, but so in your clients or the people surrounding you, I'm sure that you meet people, they want the business or they want to
Yeah.
change country,
Yeah.
change city. What do you see? What is if is there's a repeating pattern
Mm-hmm.
of why they just stay in the want and they don't go into action and they don't achieve? Do you see something
Yeah.
that is preventing people?
Yes, I see a couple of things. I see denial. I see the fact that they are in denial
Mm.
about who they are. They're trying to be someone else. I see comparison. They compare
Thief
themselves
of
with
joy.
exactly. They compare themselves with every single person and they're trying to be like that person. I see a lack of accountability by you not understanding the role you're playing in your own demise and you're blaming every single coach you've worked with, every single graphic designer you've worked with is not the right person, then sometimes it's time to sit down and take the distance. I think some people just like the sound of their voice. So they come to you, they're like complaining, they're this, they're that. I see people not willing to do the boring work. So they like the idea, but the boring work, no, I'm not doing it. Oh, that's too much. Have you started? Oh, I had a situation where someone said, oh, I was expecting you to give me this red carpet approach to my brand. I said, I don't understand what part of my routine and everything I've discussed with you made you feel that way. I believe in growing slow and then being ready to understand the platform first and then know how to communicate with the people that you need to communicate with. Because you're not having a monologue, you're having a conversation, like you said, with people. And I have seen that sometimes there's a lot of pressure on people. So you have pressure from family, pressure from society, pressure
Yeah.
from trauma that they've gone through. So some people have not dealt with their demons. That's why they don't get things done. I always say that also culture and the rat race have kind of configured us to always be in a rush, but we don't rush with a
Mhm.
sense of urgency. So we're rushing and we're not getting anything done. We are going to want to be the fastest, the meanest, the everything. We want to, oh, you see a video or how to create 30 months or 30, 1 month of content in 1 hour. You see a consistent drive for things like that. And you're like, okay, I've given you 100 content ideas. You've not done the first one. So the inability to start. Some people are dealing with perfectionism. They don't know how to start. And once they start, they get distracted or they get bored. Or when they don't see results, they just want to abandon the project because someone else has promised something else that looks a lot finer. And I always tell people it starts with you. Unfortunately for you, I can't do the work for you. You have to learn to take responsibility for your actions and your inactions. And if you're not willing to do that, tools can fail, systems can fail. AI is wonderful. People think AI can replace us. But no, you get better by using AI tools. So, inability to go and be adventurous because of past trauma. And most people are unwilling to work because of their attitude to schoolwork when they were growing up. So they have
Mhm.
been tortured. They've been, oh, they never liked academics. They see anything work as something that they have to excel in all the time and they freeze. So sometimes it's mental, it's emotional, it's based on experience. But I've seen this tie with people's childhood that has prevented them from being the best versions of themselves and they don't even know it. They don't realize they're still that 5 year old child that you're teaching to write that was unable to write.
Yeah. And it's just, I mean, I love everything that you're saying, and I know that so many, it's golden for so many people, because you're calling us out, because I feel like a lot of people are exactly, but with love, with love and care, not in a
Yes,
mean way at
yes,
all,
thank you.
because I feel like it's the truth. You're just saying the truth honestly, like it is,
Mm-hmm.
without judgment, because I feel like sometimes you need to hear that. And
Yes.
going back to what you say, I think that also some people may be addicted to the feeling of want, because when
Mm-hmm.
you want something that you don't have,
Mm-hmm.
you're scared of getting it, because you're scared of letting go of that feeling of want. But in that journey, right,
Yeah.
what would you say to someone who's okay, you want the business, and maybe you start, or you want to be on social media? Of
Mm-hmm.
course, what will happen? You doubt and you fear. What would you say to someone who's
Um,
undoubtedly coming across self-doubt and fear, because this is also something that can stop you from
I
reaching your
think
goal?
I think I'll tell them that even the best composers are afraid before they go on stage. That's the first thing I always say. That sometimes you think this doubt and fear will diminish because you have millions in your account, but the truth is it's always going to be there. But doubt kills more dreams than fear. So let's look at what you doubt about yourself. So it's about understanding what you are going through and then acceptance. So there's awareness. Some people are aware of what they have. They are very self-aware, but they've not. There's no acceptance. So we
Mm.
have to move from awareness to acceptance to action. So I would say that we have what I call an alignment call, where we kind of see where are you. So I do what I call a way audit, which is where are you? How did you get here? Because if we just run straight to setting the goals and building the brand, there is something that is going to keep holding you back. What's your backtrack record? What have you done in the past? And I realized that by taking people back before they go forward, it has brought tremendous results because there we can confront what we need to confront and we are able to make changes. I've also realized that by telling them to slow down, you've been rushing since the day you were born. Your primary school, secondary school, university, the workforce. Now I want you to slow down. So I always say slow down to go fast. I'm Nigerian. We say everywhere where all Nigerians have gra. Even they say no do gra for me.
I wanted to ask you that. I wanted, because I saw your email is gra gra, and I was like, I don't know what that means. And I'm actually meeting with a friend, and she's also from Nigeria, so I'm gonna ask her.
Oh, tell us
But
don't do gra for me if she's being this. So Nigerians have this hustle culture We want to hustle all the time. As in anybody you meet, and society has that. We are in a rat race where we always are going for the
Mm.
next. We're going for the next. But sometimes we've not told ourselves to slow down in order to be more
Yeah.
productive. So no
Yeah.
paragraph for me is my philosophy where I'm talking about slowing down in order to go fast. So it's
That's beautiful.
counterintuitive because you're telling somebody don't go too fast, but you're telling the person to live with a sense of urgency. So what
But
I
you will go further. If you slow down, you will go
you
further.
will go further because the reason is then you will be able to reflect. Then you'll be able to
Mm.
ask yourself the difficult questions. You will know when you've gone off track. I always use the story of the tortoise and the hare. And the tortoise was taking its time and going, but it was focused. While the person that was more skilled, the rabbit or the hare, was running around and going everywhere and just being busy. So I call it busy being busy. He was so busy, he forgot the mission. He forgot why he started. So the tortoise was just going slow and steady, slow and steady, slow and steady. And it crossed the finishing line before the person that was more experienced. So I always tell
And you
people,
will reach your goal. If you
you
stay
will,
consistent,
you will,
you will. Like
you will.
success is if you keep your eyes on the prize,
Yeah.
you will.
Yes,
You
and
will
even if the
get there.
goalpost changes, you will be successful.
Yeah. Yeah.
You will be successful. So many people want to achieve what the world wants us to achieve, the world definition of success. So, oh, okay, you're a social media manager, you manage people's pages, but you have 2,000 something followers. Why don't you have up to 10,000? Because I don't care about numbers. I don't do vanity metrics. Many people have to realize that people buy followers. So think about, I use a couple of people for social media experiments when I'm talking to people. I talk about Kit Lee. I talk about the Ace family, and I'll talk about the last one if we have time. But the Ace family, they are wonderful, and they are a family vlogging family that was doing tremendously well. They had a scandal, and it became public that they were paying for comments, for likes, for everything,
Mm.
even in their giveaway. And I am like, but you add the numbers, you have people paying attention to you, you have people coming out and seeing you. So why were you that vain to try and force engagement rather than earning engagement? Why are you trying to force attention rather than earning the attention from people? So sometimes we're in such a haste, we start doing things to please the world and show the world that we are actually good. But we ourselves don't even believe that we are. Then you have someone like Kit, he sits down on his Paw Patrol chair and he reviews food, and all of us are like, wow, when we see him growing up, we're like, we make the right person famous, and everybody is going
Yeah.
out for him. And you see what he's doing for other
Yeah.
families. He's someone that is giving back. And even if a brand comes to him and somebody else has done a challenge first, he's not going to say, I need that money, pay me my check. Most people now will
Yeah.
be like, run me my check, run me my check, run me my check. And that money hungry thing has kind of crept into every single individual, directly or indirectly.
Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
The mindless flow is an exercise where we created where you put your pen on paper and for 15
Mm-hmm.
minutes you write. You're not going to correct your grammar. You're not trying to sound like as the most intelligent person. You just kind of empty your mind. So journaling,
Mm-hmm.
something like the mindless flow, can help people to kind of understand why they are struggling with this. So it would be like if you're struggling and you don't know why you're not doing what you're doing, you may be answering the why question 10 times deep. You've answered why the first time. You answer it the
Yeah.
second time. The third time, you keep going deeper, 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 asking yourself, why do I want to be successful? Okay, this thing. Like you said, what's that drive? Every doctor I've spoken with is always asking me, well, why are you still running? You should sit down now. I'm like, I don't know how to do any other thing. It's what gives me joy. So when others are thinking about traveling, I'm like, okay, how can I build a system for somebody? So it's about acceptance of who you are. So if this person has been someone that has probably, and do you know the funny part? Most people
Mm-hmm.
that come with this doubt and fear are at the top of their career and the
Yes, I
world.
mean, doubt and fear as knows no. I mean, there is no
Mm-hmm.
social classes. There
Yes.
is no and no matter what you do, you can be a millionaire, you can
Mm-hmm.
be broke, you will still have doubt and fear. And I love that you say that it's in order to brave that, it's about being honest with yourself.
Yeah.
What is scaring you, but also wanting your goal
Mm-hmm.
enough. I guess that we can resume that, right? Like you need to want it
You need
for
to
real
want it
and
for
go
real. You need to want it for real
and
because
no
you
and
realize
be
that people say they
honest.
want something for real, but that's the only thing they're not achieving. So they are successful in the eyes of the world, but deep down inside, there is something that they knew that will give them fulfillment, but they just can't seem to start
Mm,
or they can't seem to pick up from where they left.
yeah.
And some people are their own worst enemy. So if that kind of
Yes.
person is their worst
Most of
enemy,
the time, yes.
yes, and you realize the amount of damage they're doing to themselves mentally, then that person may need to go into therapy. However, there's a secret weapon I always recommend, and it's called the artist way. I thought I could find mine here, but
Oh
I
my
can't.
God, I want to read that,
You
but
should. We're
I
reading
feel like
April.
I'm gonna read it this year because I feel like I'm finally at a place where
Mm-hmm.
I found myself. I found my way.
Good,
I found my
good,
path.
good.
So it's like I feel like I can finally read it. It's literally in my list. I was
It
like
is
last
an
month.
amazing tool. So for those that I know that do not have the capacity to afford a coach, I always recommend the
Hmm.
artist way. Why? The artist way is a toolkit for every creative. So everybody has an artist in them. And it
Yes.
forces you to slow down, but it forces you to look at certain areas of your life that you may have ignored, that you may have tried to put a band-aid on and just try to move
Hmm.
on. And this kind of helps you wake up to the reality that you have something amazing in you. And it's 12 weeks. I love books that are kind of broken down like this because in 12 weeks you can actually. So for me, I say if you want to go beyond 12 weeks, go beyond 12 weeks. But rather than having that speed to complete this book, what the book does, it is transforms you from inside out. So if someone is really, really struggling, because we are starting in the commitment circle, we're starting this book in April. But if someone is really, really struggling and they don't have the capacity, I always just say get the book or join the community so we are working with others and give yourself time because sometimes we want to get things done now. We want the results immediately. But if
Yes.
we could get results immediately, sometimes everybody would be, we'll all be,
Already done. Yeah.
we're not going to do anything. So I always kind of encourage them being patient with themselves, being kind to
Hmm.
themselves, being honest with themselves, and then seeking help if they need to professionally. Most people will be like, oh, I don't like therapists. I don't like this. I don't like that. I say, okay, but then can you, because if they go into the therapy session with that same mindset, you're not going to get any help done. But
Yes.
a book like The Artist's Way kind of deals with anger as an emotion. It deals with your creative style. It deals with the bullies that have bullied you as a young person. It makes you address the issue. So if it's something you can't address on your own, I said, well, 12 weeks. Give yourself 12 weeks and focus.
Give yours. I feel like it's worth it to give yourself 12 weeks, and it's
Mhm.
definitely on. It's I think it's the next book. I
Oh
have a
no, it's
few books that
amazing.
I'm reading now,
It's
but
really
I
good.
really want, and because it's 12 weeks, I really want
Yeah,
to.
so
I'm
that's why
gonna
I'm
link
starting it in
it.
quarter 2 because in Q2 then we're doing it for April, May, June. That way it's the 12 weeks is a 12 weeks. So this
Oh,
month,
that's true. So I may okay April. Yeah, then I'm gonna. I think I'm gonna start it as well
yeah,
in April. So thank you so much for that
yeah.
recommendation. But I did not. There's something that I wanted to talk about in this
Okay,
conversation. I did not
sure.
want to finish that conversation without talking about something from your story that I discovered.
Okay,
You said that not one day we're gonna take a sharp left, but I would like to talk about your health because you did
sure.
mention it.
Mm-hmm.
You did touch about it. You did mention that, and as we
Yeah.
are coming closer to the episode coming closer to the end, I really wanted to talk about that because I feel like your testimony is so powerful and so
Thank
strong
you.
because you do deal with chronic pain and chronic illness, and I did hear
Yes.
you say that there has not been one day without pain in the last 20 years.
Yeah,
And
that's
I
correct.
when I hear you talk about, motivation and productivity, it's so inspiring, right? And you see your
Yes.
page and you see, you're smiling and we can feel your energy, very solar, very encouraging, very empowering, the work that you do for yourself and for people. But then I discovered that about you, and I really wanted to ask you
Mm-hmm.
about that part because I feel like it
Okay.
plays such a role.
Sure.
It plays such a role, and I wanted to understand, how do you balance this passion for productivity and all of
Yes.
this while
Yeah.
still
Struggling
being
with. Yes.
with chronic pain. So can you talk about that diagnosis and
Okay.
how can you
All right.
align both?
So the diagnosis is chronic fatigue syndrome, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which is a connective tissue disorder, postural
Mm-hmm.
orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, chronic pain is like fibromyalgia also. Um, there's quite a lot, Marfan syndrome, and quite a lot of things that I'm going through. So with POTS, what happens is my heart rate beats faster than it should, and I could pass out. So I do have blackouts. I just started using this device. It's called Visible, and it's kind of
Mm-hmm.
helping me track my pace myself and ensure that I'm not overexhausting myself because I'm autistic, like I said, we just discovered, and I don't have good
Yeah.
interoception. So that means I do not understand when I'm tired, when I'm in pain, until it gets to the part when I'm like, because there are some days I'll be freezing. I'm like, oh, I'm cold. It doesn't even occur to me that I'm cold yet till
Yeah.
somebody else comes into the room and said, "This room is freezing." I was like, "Oh, that's it. Yes, that's it. I can put on the heater and
Yeah.
things like that." But with me, what I have decided, a friend and I were talking yesterday. She was like, "You have to tell us when things are bad." But what I decided is I was going to live my life every day to the best of my ability. So in the past, I used to beat myself up. So how did I get obsessed with productivity? Almost every book on my shelf was about improving myself. How can I be more productive? How can the gospel
Yeah.
transform the way I get things done? I used to listen to productivity podcasts, anything productivity, you found me there. And it was subconscious. It wasn't intentional, but my mind was always, oh, I need to learn how to do things better. And then I know that I'm going to break down. So, for example, in university, I know that in the middle of the semester, there's nowhere I'm not going to break down. So I start studying from the beginning, from the very first day. So that when I break down, I'm away for 2, 3 weeks or maybe four, and then I come back close to the exam period. At least I've covered the part that I am supposed to cover, and I will remember that. And I just pray they bring parts from the first few weeks in. And there was a time it happened to me where they brought a definition of someone that I did not know from Adam, and I still wrote like 5 pages on the power, well, but something, something. And my lecturer was like, I tried to fail you, but I couldn't. That it was just so good, but you did not even tell us the man's definitions of power, but you wrote
But
about it, but you answered the question, but the question was this. And I've just had that good foundation as a Christian that no matter what I am going through, that I'm not going through it alone. So a typical day would be if I've done this podcast today, I already know Monday, Tuesday, Sunday, Monday, I'm going to be in bed. So that's why you see my robe. And I'm going to start a series called Comfy Productivity because I want people to get comfortable with productivity. It wasn't something that I was comfortable with because I knew I struggled to assimilate. As a neurodivergent person, everybody, some things come to people naturally, but there are some things that we learn. And it's difficult when you are trying to explain to people that you can't see things from their perspective. For me, in order for me to manage my health, I had to learn how to build systems. So even Tiago first, the person, the author of the second brain, he was like, it's because he was having migraines that he got into productivity. And he's amazing when he talks about second brains and things because the medical system is not equipped to heal. It will diagnose.
absolutely, I mean, I think I would say the medical system is not equipped maybe to prevent. It's only when you get sick, only after
After
they won't
and then the
keep you
medications have
healthy.
side effects and side effects and side effects. But
Uh,
also you with I was seeing like five professors one time and I was seeing quite a lot of doctors, but they were not meeting together to get notes. So you have to control your
yeah,
calendar when you have so many appointments. You have to manage your medication yourself. You have to
yeah,
go for your checkups and everything. And sometimes they're not sending the messages to say, oh, you did this. So your doc, like now, I have to call my GP because my specialist said after 6 months referral to this. It's been 8 months. I completely forgot. Now I need to call the GP on Monday and say, "Oh, remember we're supposed to get this referral because you're expecting it to be automatic, but it's not automatic."
yeah,
So you basically have to learn that the only way you can get the best of time is if you manage it. So I was telling someone one day, one of my mentors, and I was basically just telling her how tired I was that I couldn't sleep early, and when I wake up I'm so tired, I can't get things done.
yeah.
So I used to have a to-do list with like 50 things on it that I want to do on it for a day, and I was seeing someone that is like, yeah, write a to-do list, and I realized that writing the list was not enough, buying planners was not enough, so I was figuring by doing. And then she said,
Yes,
whenever you wake up and you have energy, you do the work for that time, and when the energy is not there, you just relax. I was like, is it that easy? And that was like a wonderful change for me. So I started working for the person I was. I realized that I'm not the kind of person that has as much energy as every other person. So I need to understand that. I
I think you
also,
have a lot of energy. I think just if people are just listening, I love that I'm not someone who has energy. Please, I think
yeah,
that if
oh no,
anyone
don't
goes
worry.
on
We've
your
rested
TikTok,
2 days
I feel
before.
like, I mean, I don't know who you're comparing yourself to, but I would say that you are pretty
So
energetic. And
you
I'm
can
saying that in the most
imagine. No,
loving, it's
as
a
a child,
compliment.
oh my goodness, you couldn't keep me still. I was like bouncing off walls and everything. But what I mean by you said you've got energy, but yeah. So everybody understands that. I don't know if you know about the spoon theory. So the spoon
No.
theory in chronic illness is about understanding that a simple task that takes somebody that doesn't someone doesn't have to think about to do may take you 5 spoons.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say you have 24 spoons a day. Waking up in the morning and getting out of bed, for you, that's nothing. You're out of bed. For me, that may take 5 spoons. And those 5 spoons are my energy input. That means I have just 20 left and it's already 7 or
Yeah.
8 a.m. So I have to run through the rest of the day. Walking down to the bathroom could take another 5 energy spoons. So now I have just 15 left and I've had breakfast. By the time I have breakfast, my battery is dead completely. So then I have to recharge. And recharge may be just lying down. It may not even recharge me till the next day or till 3 days later. So I need to understand that because, like I said, I do have energy, like you can tell, and I love being busy. So the first time my therapist was like, you need to stop cleaning your house. You stress clean. I said, okay, fantastic. I got a cleaner, and the first day the cleaner came, I went to clean my neighbor's house because I couldn't stand still. I was just like, I'll be right back. So we met when I went to take the bean out, and Duma was looking at me like, what just
You did
happened?
not, did you understand the message? They were
I
trying to tell
heard
you
the
to not
message. I
clean.
actually heard the message, but eh, I always say that's their problem. But
Yeah,
then, so
it wanted to be busy. I relate so much because I really have a problem. I had to learn last year of how to sit down. I love being busy. I love
it's
working. I love
wonderful.
doing. I love it.
Exactly. So
I
you
love
can imagine this
learning.
is
I
me
love
with half
discovering,
or
working on this podcast. The boring, what you call the
the
boring work,
boring
I
work
love it. The email, the
excites me.
design, I love it.
It's wonderful. So the boring work excites me, but I have to realize
Yes.
that no, that sometimes I love Korean series. How I know I'm tired and I'm not able to do much is I can't read the subtitle. So I am
Yeah.
so much pain that everything is foggy. If I go out and I take the train, I could get to the station and forget where I am because I'm so exhausted from walking to the train station. So then I have to take cabs almost everywhere I go. There's a time I was sitting in front of a Tesco not far from my house and I had no idea where I was. So, but the same with me, when I have those kind of shutdowns and things like that, I have good way of not panicking. I don't know how I do it, but I don't panic. I rather just so rather some people have a meltdown at that kind of time. I have a shutdown. So I'll just sit still, which is my nature, I'll be calm. I'm not even telling myself to breathe. I'm arguing with myself or something. And when I recover, I'm like, oh, this is where I'm going. Okay. And then I just pick up and go. So when I tell people, they're like, okay, so you were at the station, you didn't realize where you were, and you just picked up and you went back about your day and you forgot about it. I did not forget, I did not remember. I always tell people there are two things. I forgot and I do not remember. So we brain
And
fog.
I think it's also it's a way you train your brain
It's
because
coping.
even
Yes.
me, it's you train your brain
Mm-hmm.
over and over again to react a certain way
Yeah.
when you have pain or when, and if you
Yes.
train your brain to not panic, at some point you will stop panicking.
You will
If you
stop
train your
panicking.
brain to not feel fear,
Mm-hmm.
you will deal with fear
Yes.
differently. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Because you mentioned your faith and your Christianity, I was wondering how is faith helping you in the process of having chronic pain
Mm-hmm.
while still wanting to pursue productivity and to get things done. What is the role of faith in all of that in your life that keeps you going?
I think faith is the only thing that keeps me going. Most people that have what I have with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, they are in wheelchairs. They are using a stick. Because when I went for a conference once, they were like, "Oh, where's your cane?" I'm like, "No, I don't need a cane. I just take a taxi. That's it. That's my solution." I see the wonderful part of life. I'm always excited and happy no matter what. There are days, there are bad days, but what has kept me going is the fact that I know that no matter what happens, God loves me. and he loved me enough for to accept me the way I am. So that's the only person I can be vulnerable with. In the past, growing up, I wanted. The African parents are quite strict. Our teachers are quite strict. So the way I was dealing with God was I was dealing with him as someone that was so strict that was waiting for me to fail, to say, I got you, I knew you were going to fail, or I knew you were going to fall. When I read a book called Victory Over the Darkness, and the author was talking about the fact that God is a loving father that loves us the way we are. He's not asking for us to be perfect. It's not even before we accepted him, when we were imperfect, he accepted us. And there are certain times that some information I just get just kind of light a fuse up, and I'm like, okay, fantastic, and I just accept it immediately. And that's the way it was for me, and that's the way it has been. Because there are some times that people are like, okay, how can you be serving a God and be sick? Don't you think it's weird? I'm like, I am not equipped to answer that question, but what I am equipped to tell you is this: I am happy. I am content. I love the way my life is going. I do
Mm.
not wish it on anybody else because it is difficult. It is. I've seen my friends being unable to understand how to deal with me when I'm in pain. I've seen a friend see me coiled up and then they had to call the ambulance. And she was the one crying. So the ambulance got there faster and I started laughing because I'm like, why are you crying? And I just always this way. And sometimes maybe I'm unable to work and then the ambulance comes, but they will see me as a very calm person. So when you're calm, people tend to neglect you, especially if you're sick. But I've realized that that's
Yeah.
just what kind of helps me. I've surrounded myself with people that kind of renew my faith also. I don't think anybody should walk in life alone. So it's a community of friends and people that I know the days that are my winter period or when I'm in the desert, I can call them and then we can have a conversation. And sometimes it's just music for me. I love Christian music. There was a song, I remember one time I was telling God that if I had cancer or I was in a wheelchair, people would understand better. But that time I had not been diagnosed
Mm.
because I got treatment in Nigeria, India, even in the UK, I had to go private before we found a diagnosis. So that diagnosis time, you get interrupted. You're like, oh, a new specialist, and then you get heartbroken all the time. And sometimes you just get numb to the pain. You get numb to every single thing because you're like, okay, they're going to say this. It's in your head. You hear that all the time. India said it's in your head. Nigeria says it's malaria and it's in your head. Even the UK say maybe it's in your head. And it takes you walking into a room, shaking somebody's hand, and the person is like, wow, oh, I know what you have. You're hypermobile, you're this is, and you're like, so this is how easy it is. And I wouldn't have had that conversation if God had not orchestrated me going to someone else that referred me to someone else that referred me to him. And I went to those people privately by accident because I was working in a call center. And in the middle of calls, I would lose my voice or I would just
Mm.
get too weak. And so that day
Yeah.
I was going back home and I just walked past this private GP and I said, okay, let me just go in. I don't know what to expect. So for me, God has always been with me, even in the midst of the storm. I think even if my career path changed a little bit, I didn't see how the dots were connecting. So when I started using Canva 10 years ago, no one told me that I'll be using it to design stuff. And I think sometimes when I
Yeah.
started, if I knew what I'll be doing, I may not have started. So I
Yeah.
enjoy what I do because I grew into it. I enjoy the way I help people because I'm able to help people kind of transform their lives. I know that yes, people say, oh, that when they hear my story and they think about the fact that sometimes I'm in calls, I'm in the dark. I'm like, okay, I just might need to debrief, but I can talk. I realized that the ability to listen to others helps them to learn because sometimes I needed someone to listen to my pain and I just didn't find that. And sometimes that's how I help people. It's like, okay, I may not be the one to give you the solution, but I could point you to someone else. People need people to hear them without judging. We are judgmental as a world. We want to cancel everybody. Even if someone comes and does a repentance tour, we're like, you're still cancelled. You did this, this, this. So we're so tough on people that they are also tougher. They are 10 times tougher on themselves. And what we all need is a little kindness shown towards us. Coaching is not about forcing people to change. It's about
Mm-hmm.
making them learn and then unlearn and then build their own way of getting things done while you support them. But the first part of coaching is listening. So when I tell people that I don't rush into building your brand in one day. No, I work with you incrementally. So I do productivity and branding together as a package. I work with you gradually till we get there because sometimes when you start where
Mm-hmm.
you are not ready. And I want people to be ready to achieve what they want to achieve because Someone
and
motivation for.
I think that you are doing that wonderfully. I think that you are, I mean, your passion really shined through,
Thank you.
and you are doing it well. I feel like it was your calling and you're walking into
Thank
your
you.
purpose and into your light.
Thank you.
We feel your passion and the ease with which you're
Aww.
talking about that, you know? Like really it does. Like the knowledge and the expertise kind of flows out of you, and it's beautiful that you can find the balance even in your own with your own pain. It's like you transform. That's what an artist does, right? It's transforming your pain and transforming your transforming your pain, your doubt, and your struggle into art. And your art is helping people. Art is not just
Yes.
writing
I love
or you
that.
know painting. It's also helping people and talking and finding the right words the right way. You know, you talk directly to me, to you know, you talk about my podcast, etc. And I feel like you're doing that absolutely wonderfully. I'm really glad that we get to connect, that we get
Oh,
to connect
thank you
through,
so
you know, through
much.
TikTok. Yeah, like randomly, like that's my favorite thing, to
Randomly,
be
I
able
had no
to
plans for going on the podcast, and then you came around.
and it's perfect. And then you came around, like you took a seat. So yes, thank you so much for all the knowledge
You're welcome.
in this conversation. I'm gonna link all the books. If you want to come back and talk about something else, please, like you will always be
Oh,
welcome. I
thank you.
really, it was really empowering to hear you.
Thank you.
I took my notes, you know, and it was so, yeah, it just feels good to hear you talk about productivity and talk about your story as well, because it is very empowering and encouraging. So
Oh,
thank you for your words, and just know that you are a light. You definitely
oh,
are a light.
thank you so much for your kind words. Thank you so much.
No, it's true. It's true. It's true. And I want you to hear it. I want you to take it and to sit in it, because I think that we are very similar, and maybe compliments you. You know,
Oh,
you
that's
hear them,
good.
but they go out of another here. I know. I
I
see my,
know,
like, I
right?
think we're the same. So I need you to sit in that once this conversation is
I want to
over.
clip it even.
Yeah.
I think we could clip that. I want to just clip that and play it over and over again for myself.
I will send you a clip. I will send you a
Thank
clip of
you.
me saying that, so you can listen to it. So thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you.
You are a light. You're working your purpose. It feels so good to meet some people who are walking in their purpose and hear your story, hear the why you're doing what you're doing. And again, like it shows, like you're really talking from a place of alignment. It shows that you know yeah, you are working in your purpose and you're helping people. And I know that the people that you are working with are very blessed.
Hey, yes.
And yeah, I'm really looking forward to stay in touch and to be
Yes.
inspired by you and looking at your
Oh,
work. And yeah, so thank you so much. If you
thank
have any last word of
uh,
encouragement, wisdom, productivity, please let us know.
uh,
But yeah, it was a pleasure to sit down with you
yeah,
for
thank you
sure.
so much. Oh, thank you so much for having me, Sylvan. I think it's wonderful when you just connect with people and you're doing a remarkable job. I think more people need
Thank
to
you.
listen to your podcast. More people need to be guests
Thank
on
you.
your podcast and have a seat with you because you make conversations so easy. And for everyone listening, I want to say thank you. If I'm leaving you with any word today, it will be trust your guts. Trust yourself more. Believe in yourself more than any other person. And once you do, that's the start. You may not understand the full picture. Like I said, I started with such a ridiculous name in 2011. But look at it now. I'm doing branding for others. But if I didn't start, I wouldn't have known what to do and what not to do. Start, reflect, rinse, repeat. Thank you.
Beautiful. And that's the thing. Take a first step. It won't be perfect, but put it out. Like just the we only see the result of
Hmm.
everything, of everyone, but just know, just take one step after another. It will be perfect after, I mean, after a while. It won't be
Yes.
perfect at first. You
Yeah.
will change course, you will change direction, you will go left after you went right, you will go up after you went down, but just one step after another. And I feel your story is a testimony to that. I won't keep you any longer, but thank
Oh,
you
thank
so
you so
much.
much to the team.
And we stay in touch for sure, because I need your energy in my life. I need your accountability in my life. I need your
Yeah,
work in my
we
life.
we
So I'm keeping you
definitely
with
will
me.
stay in touch.
And if I'm
Thank
ever in
you.
London, girl, I will see you for sure.
Definitely.
For sure. Thank you so much. Have a
All
great
right
day.
then. Cheers. Bye.
Bye.